So we've just spent the last 16 days traveling from Brisbane to Hawaii on the Quantum of the Seas. And would we do it again? Well, so I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Polly.
And we're from Families on the Horizon, and we help families like you have awesome extended vacations, including cruises like this one. So today we're going to cover off what we really thought of this adventure, an honest review, so to speak, from a family's perspective, because obviously you're wanting to know the same thing we wanted to know when we first jumped on here is A, was it worth doing? And B, are the kids going to have a good time?
So we decided to book a 16-day Trans-Pacific cruise with the Royal Caribbean Quantum of the Seas ship, which meant we were going from Brisbane to Hawaii and not returning. We were literally crossing the Pacific, stopping in at French Polynesia and ending in Hawaii.
Now, the reason we booked this trip in the first place was it was a bit of an impulsive purchase, to be completely honest. It was Black Friday and the tickets were really cheap. I think we paid $70 a person per day. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the things we thought about this trip, and then we'll talk about whether we would do it again or not. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was that there was a lot of sea days on this trip specifically. So you got to remember that in the Pacific Ocean, there's not really many places to stop, to be completely fair. There's French Polynesia, which is where we did stop. But between Brisbane and French Polynesia, it's 8 sailing days. So we spent about 8 days at sea without a break. Now, obviously it's fine. There wasn't like anything crazy happened. The weather was a little bit rough on a couple of the days, but towards the end, towards like the 6th, 7th and 8th day, the food really started to drop off, which is understandable, right? Like food doesn't stay fresh forever. So the fruit started to drop off. They started to serve less fruit, started to serve less vegetables just because the ships, I think, just started running out. I don't think they're designed to go 8, 9, 10 days without pulling up somewhere and getting restocked. And
especially with over 5,000 people on board, including the crew.
Yep.
That's a lot of people to be feeding in a day for 8 days.
And because it was so many sea days, it was, and it was rough on a few of those days. They closed down the pools for a few days, which made it harder for us to find things to do for the kids. But yeah, it was a big stretch to be at sea. It's the longest stretch we've done on a cruise at sea. Most cruises will go 3 or 4 or 5 days at max and then hit a port. So that was just something we weren't really expecting, because by about the 7th day, we're like, oh, actually, could be nice to actually see some land at this point.
It does get a little bit boring just watching the ocean, and you feel like you're very, very alone.
Yeah.
Because there's just ocean all around you.
So that was something we weren't mentally ready for or weren't expecting. So one of the things we really did like on this cruise specifically, because we haven't actually sailed with Royal Caribbean before, it's always been Carnival, so this is an interesting experience for us, was the amount of family entertainment on the ship. It was actually really good, and it was good quality entertainment. So I've spoken about this before, how there's a difference between poor quality, like good quality entertainment and just entertainment. So sometimes you can go on a cruise and the entertainment is just like there to fill in time. Well, the entertainment on board here, especially for families, was actually decent. So, like notwithstanding, they've got this awesome Seaplex, which was shown, which, has bumper cars and laser tag and a whole bunch of stuff. Very versatile space, which is absolutely amazing. But like even just like the family craft activities were actually decent. They weren't just like half-baked. They didn't just throw them together. You did family bingo when I was.
We did family bingo. We missed out on family charades, which would have been a really good one, and the family scavenger hunt. That was actually a good scavenger hunt as well. There was so many things to do, and we actually applaud Royal Caribbean because they do that so well with the amount of things that are actually organised for families.
Yeah. And, like that really helped with the Fordham side, because it was enough to break up the day. It'd be nice if there was more of them, but there's just so many crew and staff that you can't really expect more than they gave, because generally there was like one craft-based activity or one like a family enrichment activity, and then the Seaplex just had things on constantly.
Yeah. So as we were crossing the Pacific Ocean, it got very, very rough. So there was quite a few days there where we had 3-metre swells. We were lucky enough that we didn't get seasick, but if you did, that would ruin your trip a lot, because you would be bedbound, you would not be feeling very well. The ship actually ran out of seasickness medication at one point as well before we got to the port. So if you haven't stocked up, like a lot of people didn't, you would be finding it very, very hard on this trip to actually enjoy yourself and find something to do when you're laying in bed not feeling very well.
I think if you were chronically seasick and you weren't feeling good, or you're prone to seasicknesses, 8 days is going to feel like 50 days. It's a long time to be at sea in rough weather, because the first 2 days weren't too rough, and then after the third day, this wind started picking up, and then the swell started picking up with it. So it was windy, it was swelly, and just thank God the ship has stabilizers, because otherwise it would have been pretty crazy on this ship, I think.
Also, another positive is because it is such a big ship, there are a lot of places that they can actually have shows or other types of entertainment. Other than what we've talked about with family entertainment, this is the other entertainment category. So on this ship, you also have the Royal Theatre, you've got Cafe
270.
Cafe 270. And then you've got this Deck 14 here, which also has a massive movie screen. So the list of entertainment for us, outside of kids, was actually quite good, because there was just so many things, and they brought on a lot of different entertainers throughout the 16 days. We didn't have the same repetitive thing. It was a different show nearly every 2 to 3 days.
The only thing I wish they did have that maybe Carnival does better, I would argue, is there was no comedians. I think they had one comedian. Yeah, there was no comedy lounge, so there was no comedians. So one of the things I enjoyed on the Carnivals was going into a comedian every night, after that, to a comedian show.
Yeah.
There was no comedian on board. So that was a little bit of I just thought it was weird. I would just assume they would have a comedian come, but that's okay. Maybe that's just a Carnival thing. But that was interesting. So, but the shows overall were pretty good, like the ventriloquist and the hypnotist and things like that.
Yeah, and then we had a long list of movies that always played as well. So you could see the Top Gun, we could see kids movies. There was
Oh man, they played Barbie like 15 times.
Barbie and Encanto. That took a hit a few times during the long sea days, but there was some other good movies that were showing.
So the next thing we didn't really expect coming on a cruise for this long, because we have done cruises before, but just not a 16-day one.
All with kids.
All with kids, to be fair, is that it did get quite boring towards the end. It's not that the actual cruise itself is boring. There's like plenty of things to do on this ship, like the credit where credit's due. One of the positives we're going to talk about is that there's a lot to do. But when you like us and you like exploring, especially, there's only so many nooks and crannies on this ship, and eventually you just uncover everything, and then you're kind of just sitting around sort of waiting for the day to finish, which is not what we're used to now. Some people would absolutely love that. I'd imagine that's like their ideal dream. But, especially when you've got kids and they're wanting to be entertained and have things to do, it can be quite difficult to keep them entertained besides just going to the same places every day and eating. That was probably the only way we killed boredom on the ship, was eating. And, our stomachs are showing for that. I think I've put on about 10 pounds in this cruise. But yeah, it wasn't like boredom as in like, oh my God, I want to get off this ship. It was more like, oh, we're sitting around the pool and, sit there for 2 hours. And, we're just not used to doing that. Whereas on a 7-8 day cruise, 10-day cruise, you've got like, it's enough time to like discover everything. But then by the end of the 8th or 9th day, you're like kind of just discovered everything. So it's, you've got a day or two where you might be overlapping on stuff. But after about day 10, we were just doing things over and over again. I think we went on the bumper cars like 12 times, which is good. There was nothing wrong with that.
The kids played at the Seaplex and got the Xbox controllers, I don't even know.
Yeah, like 30 or 40 times. But like, we're used to like living in a city and just like exploring. So for us, it was probably a little bit too long in that aspect. But I'm sure there was plenty of people on the ship that they wish they were on here for 30 days as opposed to 16. It just might be a specific type of person or family. So another positive, I think, and what really sealed the deal for us is that this ship is really big. It's the 6th largest ship in the Royal Caribbean fleet. And I think if this ship was smaller, the 16 days would have been a lot harder to do because the 6,000 or 5,000 people that are on the ship would have been compressed into smaller areas. Like, it never really felt that busy on the ship considering how many people are actually on it, which is surprising.
The only time it did feel busy was when they did something here on Deck 14 and everyone surrounds it. That's when you know there's a lot of people on the cruise because everyone comes to one point. But normally, you'd walk past and be like, oh, there's only a couple of hundred people around kind of thing. And it's not massive.
But everything on the ship is big. So, like, even the cafe, like the buffet area is large. The rooms are actually quite big on this ship as well. Like, considering they picked, like, the perfect ship to do a 16-day voyage with. I think if they picked one of the Symphony of the Seas or the Harmony of the Seas, one of the smaller ones, it probably would have been a lot harder to get over that whole boredom thing, because when we were looking for things to do, there was always a place to sit around. There was always chairs available. The room was big enough to go and relax because we had an interior room. So, but I think if this was the Harmony of the Seas, that's a little bit smaller, it might have been more difficult to do that. So I think I would either, if I was going to do another trans-Pacific cruise like this, it would only be on a
Have to be on a bigger ship.
like a Quantum or an Oasis class or a one of these new Icon or Utopia classes, or like an Carnival Panorama, like a the big mega ships, because like not only the fact that there was a lot of room, I think if it was a smaller ship, they would have struggled through the waves that we got through.
Oh yeah, 3 meters swell.
Yeah, and the wind is what did it. Swell wasn't that bad, but like 60 knot winds, it's just a lot for a ship to punch through. So I think this ship was the perfect ship to be doing this adventure with. If it was any smaller, I think we would have struggled.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is illness on a ship. Now, there are a lot of videos out there and a lot of people say, watch out for cruise ships because illness runs rife. And look, for the first 7-8 days, everyone was probably really, really good. Once we got to that 8-day, 9-day point, the ship started falling ill and we had all sorts of illnesses. There was gastro going around. We luckily, touch wood, didn't get that. You then had influenza A and COVID going through the ship. And I'm sure by that 10th day, about half of the ship were very, very ill. So cruises, we don't know whether it was because it was such a long cruise, whether it's because we're coming into winter time in Australia and people are traveling with illnesses. We're not quite sure what it is. Could have been anything. But all of a sudden, illness just started and our family copped it pretty good. Like, Liam went down with it really bad. He had a temperature and for 2 days he was isolated in his room. Then Jimmy went down. Then Riley went down. Like, we just had everyone sick with the flu and it ruined that middle section of the cruise because we were bedridden. We couldn't actually get off at the ports either because at the point where everyone was sick was port days. And all of a sudden you've come on this cruise and you can't get off the ports because you are not well. You're isolated to your room. So that kind of put a downer on it as well.
And to be fair, the medical staff on board was really good.
Okay.
That wasn't lack of medical care or attention. Like when we found out that Liam had the flu, they isolated him. They gave him movie room service and they actually gave us a credit as well on the cruise. So that was really nice, a nice gesture of them. So it wasn't through lack of like the staff. And I don't even think it was this specific ship. I just think it was the fact that you have a whole bunch of people that have been around each other for 2 weeks straight and with very few stops, so they spread people out. So, it just happened to, someone came on board, or as every cruise has, people that are sick and they just ran rampant around the ship. And, we're part of the Facebook groups. That's something we recommend you do when you first think of joining a cruise, is go and join the Facebook groups for that cruise. On there, people are saying, oh, I've got COVID, or there's COVID going around, or flu's going on. And that's when you know it's going to start, is when people start talking about it. And then it just it ran through the ship like wildfire.
Crazy, yeah. So we found we never struggled with the variety of food on this ship. You have so many choices that you probably wouldn't even get to all of them because they have theme night in the buffet all the time. They have a theme night in the dining room. There's extra restaurants on board that you can book into. There's just all sorts of different variety of food, and your kids will always find something to eat. Like, our kids at the buffet absolutely just went bananas because there was just different things that they could try. So you were definitely not short of food choices, and the buffet and the dining room are very, very hygienic, especially, walking into the buffet, you always have to wash your hands, and you know that everyone has done the same thing. The dining room, you always had to sanitize your hands. So you know that these places are up with hygiene, and you cannot fault the food on board, especially when we went so long. We went 8 days at one point without getting to a port.
And there was still rock melons.
There were still rock melons and watermelons. So they did very, very well to push out all that fresh food for the 8 days before we even got to a port. So highly recommend food on board at any of the restaurants.
There was only one day where I was like, oh, the food's not like where maybe it should be. And that was
day 7 or day 8.
No, that was that day I had the spaghetti. That meatballs, that was really salty. That day the food was, I would say, was not up to the standard of the rest of the trip. But overall, I don't think there was a single day. So that's my gauge, right? You're not going to get it right all the time on a cruise ship. The food, they're serving that many people, different meals, you're always going to... But as long as, on average, you have more better meals than you have worse meals, then in my opinion, that's a good way to gauge it. So we had lots of good meals. I can't think of any meals in particular that were that bad. And we didn't get gastro. So we ate a lot, and we ate a lot of different food. So I think that just speaks to the hygiene. You know, the whole washy-washy thing, the mascots here and the washy-washy, it does force people to wash their hands. On Carnival, they don't do that. You know, you just like walk in and wash it. And if they don't wash them, so be it. On the ships that we've been on anyway. So like, it's nice that they force people to wash hands. And the only thing I would say from a hygiene perspective that they could have done better on this ship, and if you're watching this Royal Caribbean, please do this from now on, is in the Seaplex, they have like Xbox controllers. They need to like sanitize it before they give them to the next kid. So they would get the Xbox controller, they would like hand it and give it straight to the next kid. I think that's where the sickness came from on the ship, is the kids spreading it. So if they just sanitized them before they gave it to the next kid, that would have eliminated.
Just a quick spray.
Yeah, just
blend 20.
Or like a wipe it or something.
Wipe or something.
And more regularly wiping the table tennis stuff and their foosball stuff would have helped a lot.
It is used like constantly. There is not 5-minute periods that it's probably not being used. So if you could just have a clean up, go around every half an hour to an hour, like to wipe down everything in between and stuff. And stop a lot of dirt.
And so that would be our advice if you're going to come on this cruise, is just tell when your kids go and play the Xbox, is just wipe the controller down first before they use it, because you don't know where the kids' hands have been.
Or it's anti-bac stuff before they start and after, or washing hands before and after, make sure they're not touching their face and things like that, because we think that's where a lot of the
Okay, Pauline, so first question, did you enjoy Royal Caribbean?
I did enjoy Royal Caribbean because we've been on Carnival previously, and look, Carnival are good, but I think Royal Caribbean do it better, especially the staff. The staff are amazing, and the ship is clean. The ship is amazing for food. It's got good amenities, good entertainment. Like, we couldn't ask for anything more.
I'd like to think, I mean, they serve different markets, right? Carnival is more family, you know, Royal Caribbean's a bit of a mix of everyone, but I think this has been like Royal Caribbean, it's been a good first experience of Royal Caribbean. I would definitely go on another Royal Caribbean cruise after this, and I want to start accumulating points now because they've got a pretty good reward structure for frequent cruises, arguably better than Carnival's one. So I think we'll have to start coming on more of these cruises. Now, the next question is, would you go on this ship again? The Quantum of the Seas.
Yes, I would probably go on the Quantum of the Seas. I would like to try another ship because obviously we've done the Quantum of the Seas. We know what the ship's like, so maybe trying another ship. But if there wasn't an option, then yes, I would definitely come back on the Quantum of the Seas.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this Quantum of the Seas ship specifically. I like the fact that it's big. I like the fact that it's got a lot to do. I don't like the smaller ships. I know some people like jumping on the smaller ones, but I don't like the smaller ones. I like the big mega ships because there's just so much to do on them. So
we got some water slides.
Yeah.
I like some.
So Royal Caribbean, if you're watching this again, we will end up on the Icon at some point because I want to go on that ship.
That's an intense ship.
Yeah, that you guys sold us all the videos and advertising on this ship about it. It sold me Utopia of the Seas and things. So yeah, I definitely want to. This ship was surprisingly good considering it's a little bit older. It's like by 2014, so it's 10 years old.
Yeah,
it definitely doesn't look 10 years old, which is really nice. Now, the big question: would you go on another 16-day cruise?
I would have to say no. I just think 16 days is maybe a bit too long. Maybe, yes, if there was more pause. Like maybe if there was more stops in between, because the big 8-day stretches or 8 days and then 5 days or whatever it was at the end that we had, it's a lot of days at sea. I would have liked to have stopped and got off at the beach or done just a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Yes, if there was more port days. No, if there was still a lot of sea days. That's where it's up. What about yourself?
I don't know if I'd do 16 days again, just because it's kind of too long.
Mm.
It is too long. Like I think I'm in the same boat as you. Like if I could do 16 days, but maybe there was 5 port stops, or something, 6 port stops. That's because I do like big sea day stretches. I think they're good.
I don't mind them.
But 8 days was probably too long. If they were like spurts of 5-day stretches, that'd be all right. But I'd much prefer just like 10, 11-day cruises, 7-day cruises. You sort of get you get the feel for it, you get the relaxing vibe, and then you get off before everyone starts getting sick. I think the problem with the 16-day cruises is we're on too long and everyone got sick. So like I think if it was like 7 days a week is like an incubation period for the flu. You get off, everyone gets sick at home. So, no, but like in all seriousness, I think it was a good experience. Definitely worth trying. And we're just about to pull into one of the most beautiful places on the planet, which we haven't been to yet, which is Hawaii. So, I mean, anything that gets us to Hawaii is a good experience as well. But yeah, that's our thoughts. So if you're wanting to do this Trans-Pacific cruise, hopefully this honest review has helped. Or if you want to jump on the Quantum of the Seas, hopefully this review's helped as well, because I think overall it's been a good experience. It's just I don't think we'd do another 16-day cruise again anytime soon. And stick to the 10s.
With the Quantum of the Seas ship, we have also done a big video on it as well. So if you need more information, like look for the link wherever it is.
It'll be up here.
And there's a full ship tour of all the family entertainment. So that will give you a better idea. If you haven't been on the Quantum of the Seas, that will give you an idea of what you can find on the ship.
Because we're here to make content for families, all right? There's a lot of content out there that's done by older couples or, what have you. But you need to know what is going to keep the kids entertained so you can relax and have a cocktail by the pool. So I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Pauline.
And we'll catch us all on the horizon.